When you picture a truck, you probably imagine something slow and heavy, crawling down highways with tons of cargo on its back, because trucks aren't supposed to be fast. But in 2016, Volvo decided to change that story. They built a truck so powerful that it could outrun cars on a racetrack. With 2,400 horsepower under its hood and a top speed of 171 miles per hour, this monster shattered every expectation. So, was it a record breaker? Trucks are the workhorses of our roads. They are built to drag heavy cargo over millions of kilometers. A typical semi-truck, like Volvo's FH16, has between 600 to 750 horsepower. That is a lot of power, but it is only meant for pulling weight, not chasing speed. On highways, these giants usually cruise at just 80 to 120 kilometers per hour. They are steady, reliable, and built for endurance, but speed has never been their strength. As you can see, the truck's boxy shape creates huge drag compared to a car. Its massive weight makes stability and braking a constant challenge. At high speeds, these problems multiply and can become dangerous. That is why the idea of a fast truck has always seemed almost impossible. And yet, people have tried. Europe has truck racing championships where modified rigs roar around circuits. In the United States, drag strips have seen monstrous trucks tuned for explosive sprints. Even Volvo experimented before, building a hybrid record breaker called Mean Green. And behind its wheel was Volvo Iron Knight, a veteran racer who pushed it into the history books. So the question is, why would Volvo, a company known for safety and reliability, create a truck to break speed records? And the answer arrived in 2016. That year, Volvo unveiled a machine that looked like no truck before it. They called it the Iron Knight. It was not built for highways or cargo. It was built for one purpose: to set official FIA speed records and to showcase the strength of Volvo's engineering. Most of all, it was designed to prove the power of their I-Shift dual-clutch transmission, a gearbox used in everyday Volvo trucks, but pushed here to its absolute limits. The Iron Knight was a one-of-a-kind prototype. Nothing about it was ordinary. Almost everything was built from scratch, with only the engine block and transmission coming from Volvo's production line. Everything else was engineered for speed. Its cab was made of lightweight fiberglass, and its body was shaped with giant air intakes and sleek lines to fight against drag. Even standing still, it looked like a beast waiting to run. And to tame this beast, Volvo chose the perfect man. Volvo Iron Knight, the same driver who had already proven himself with the record-breaking Mean Green, stepped up once again. He was a European truck racing champion, a racer who had spent years mastering machines of this size and power. With his experience, he was the ideal pilot to take the Iron Knight to the edge of its limits. At the heart of the Iron Knight was an engine unlike any other truck had seen. It was based on Volvo's 13-liter D13 inline 6-cylinder diesel, the same foundation used in their road-going trucks. But this version was pushed far beyond normal limits. Engineers strapped on 4 turbochargers, added a water-cooled intercooler, and rewrote the electronics from the ground up. The result was staggering. The Iron Knight produced 2,400 horsepower and 6,000 Newton-meters of torque. To put that in perspective, a powerful Volvo FH16 road truck usually makes around 700 to 780 horsepower. The Iron Knight had more than 3 times that figure. That's big, but power alone wasn't enough. To handle it, Volvo used its I-Shift dual-clutch gearbox. This was the same type of transmission used in production trucks, but here it was reinforced for the stress of record speeds. The brilliance of the system was how it shifted. It worked like the gearbox in a race car. One clutch prepared the next gear, while the other delivered power. The moment it shifted, there was no pause, no drop in torque, just seamless acceleration. Impressive. The body itself was also built for speed. The Iron Knight weighed just 4.5 tons, light for a truck of its size. The cab was made from fiberglass. Unnecessary electronics were stripped away. Every decision was about saving weight and cutting drag. Its engine sat in the middle of the chassis, improving balance and traction. Air was funneled through massive side intakes, cooling the turbos and keeping the truck stable at full throttle. Together, all these choices made the Iron Knight faster than many sports cars. Its power-to-weight ratio was extraordinary. Its aerodynamic design meant it sliced through the air more cleanly than any truck before it. On paper, it was a monster, and on the track, it was unstoppable. The stage for this historic attempt was the Skellefteå Drive Center in Sweden. It's a converted airbase with a runway long enough to unleash the Iron Knight's full power. But every detail had to be perfect. Weather conditions, tire temperatures, and engine cooling. Everything was monitored down to the smallest detail, because the FIA rules were strict. 2 runs, both directions, within 1 hour to cancel out wind and track slope. There was no room for mistakes. This record attempt wasn't just a show of raw power, it was a battle of precision. Before the Iron Knight went on track, engineers spent hours preparing the truck for its sprint. Every sensor was checked, every bolt tightened, every temperature reading analyzed. The turbos had to be warmed up but not overheated. Tire pressure was adjusted to the exact PSI needed to grip the runway without exploding under stress. Even the surface of the track itself was inspected to make sure there were no small bumps or loose gravel that could throw the truck off balance. For the team, this was about proving that a machine weighing 4.5 tons could perform like a finely tuned race car. And for Boje Ovbrink, the driver, the challenge was just as intense. He had to manage the violent surge of 2,400 horsepower while keeping the truck perfectly straight. One wrong move at nearly 300 kilometers per hour, and the attempt could end in disaster. The air was thick with anticipation. Cameras lined the runway. Engineers stood by in silence. Everyone knew they were about to witness something that had never been done before. As the Iron Knight lined up, you could feel the tension. 4 turbochargers spooled like a jet engine, filling the air with a deep growl. Then, with a thunderous launch, the 4.5-ton beast blasted forward. The ground shook, and the acceleration was so fierce that the driver, Boje Ovbrink, later said it felt closer to piloting a race car than a truck. The first record was the 500-meter sprint in 13.71 seconds at an average of 131 kilometers per hour. But that was just the warm-up. The 1,000-meter run followed in 21.29 seconds with an average speed of 169 kilometers per hour. At its peak, the Iron Knight touched nearly 276 kilometers per hour, or 171 miles per hour. That's faster than many modern sports cars, yet this machine weighed more than 3 SUVs combined. When it crossed the line, the crew erupted. They knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. It was a truck not just breaking a record, but rewriting what a truck could be. The driver, Boje Ovbrink, had just guided the world's fastest truck into the record books. And the world now had proof that the Iron Knight was not just powerful on paper, it was a true record breaker, accelerating like a supercar while looking every bit like a monster on wheels. Wait, if you're enjoying this wild ride, hit that subscribe button. It won't make your truck faster, but it will make sure you never miss stories like this one. Now, building a truck that can move at highway speeds is simple. Building one that can push past 170 miles per hour is a completely different challenge. So the Iron Knight faced problems that normal trucks never encounter. The first issue was braking. stopping 4.5 tons of machinery traveling at record speeds required massive disc brakes and advanced cooling systems. Without them, the truck would overheat or fail to stop in time. Stability was another obstacle. Trucks are tall and boxy, which makes them prone to lift when air pushes under them. To fight that, the Iron Knight relied on carefully designed aerodynamics, with its cab and intakes shaped to pin it to the road. Then there were the tires. At those speeds, normal truck tires would simply shred apart. In this case, Goodyear stepped in and provided custom tires strong enough to withstand the incredible forces. And let's not forget heat management. With 4 turbos feeding a giant diesel engine, the truck generated enormous heat. Water-cooled intercoolers and a dedicated cooling system worked non-stop just to keep the Iron Knight alive during its runs. The difference compared to ordinary trucks was staggering. In Europe, highway trucks are limited by regulators to around 90 kilometers per hour. Even the fastest road trucks cruise at 100 to 120 kilometers per hour. The Iron Knight nearly tripled that. Imagine a split screen. On one side, a typical semi gliding down a motorway, and on the other hand, the Iron Knight is exploding down a runway, leaving even sports cars in its dust. The contrast could not be greater. So why did all this matter? For Volvo, the Iron Knight was more than a record breaker. It was proof of engineering credibility. It showed that the same I-shift dual-clutch transmission used in their everyday trucks was tough enough to survive record-setting speeds. Their message was simple. If this gearbox could handle the world's fastest truck, it could certainly handle the daily grind of dragging cargo across continents. It was also a brilliant marketing story. Volvo had taken something ordinary and turned it extraordinary. They were no longer just a truck company. Now, they were showing that their technology could reach supercar levels of performance. And here's the remarkable part. Years later, the Iron Knight's FIA records still stand. No other truck has officially beaten its 500-meter or 1,000-meter standing start times. So, the Iron Knight remains the unbeaten king of speed in a world built for endurance. But it also sparks a question about the future. Could the next record breaker be electric? With instant torque and fewer moving parts, battery-powered giants like the Tesla Semi or Volvo's own electric trucks might one day challenge the Iron Knight's crown. Perhaps the next chapter in truck speed records won't be written with diesel, but with electricity. Wait for it. Beyond the numbers, the Iron Knight carried a personality of its own. Its name alone captured attention. The Iron Knight sounded like something out of medieval legend, a warrior in armor charging into battle. And in many ways, that's exactly what it was. Unstoppable power wrapped in steel and fiberglass. Its driver, Boy J. Ovbrink, called it the most powerful vehicle he had ever handled. And coming from a man with decades of racing experience, that statement meant everything. The design had quirks that set it apart. The giant side intakes looked like gills on a racing beast. The cab was stripped of nearly all electronics, leaving only what was necessary to chase speed. The body was a custom fiberglass shell, sculpted purely for performance. Out of the entire truck, the only parts carried over from road-going Volvos were the engine block and the gearbox. Everything else was built from scratch. Truck enthusiasts around the world couldn't get enough of it. Some called it a race truck dressed as a monster. Others saw it as proof that even the biggest, heaviest machines could have a wild side. Whatever you called it, the Iron Knight left an impression no one could forget. The Iron Knight is proof that even the biggest, heaviest machines can be transformed into record-breaking legends. In a world where trucks are built to drag, this one was built to fly. And it showed us that speed has no limits. Not even for a 4,500 kilo beast of steel and diesel. But what do you think? Is the Iron Knight the ultimate king of the road? Or do you think another machine deserves the spotlight? Drop your ideas in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the world's fastest truck, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell. Don't miss the next incredible story of machines that push the limits of what's possible.